Morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're viewing this. My name is Mike. I am the Crypto Liberal. Thanks for joining me again today. Happy Saturday, happy weekend. If you find anything in this video that's worth your time, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you know when I'm making a new video. So, right, we are the only channel that has been calling for alt season, has been calling alt season. If we're the only one doing it, that is the time you want to get in. That's when I'm getting in, right? Recognizing alt season before everybody else does. Well, not so fast. Some others are starting to wiggle their way into my little purview here, wiggle their way into my domain, and starting to recognize that maybe alts are ready to take off. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Cardano, right? Bitcoin has had its day in the sun the last couple of days. Finally, it has been kind of outshining the alts, that not really ruining our trades that we're in. But Cardano today, Cardano is taking some of that shine back. So we'll talk about that. And that's really it. So it'll probably be a little shorter video because not much has changed. It's the weekend. It's freaking boring. So if you appreciate that, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and let's just dive right into Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin, not doing much, right? A few days ago, we talked about this W pattern, or actually we've been talking about this W pattern for a week, and it kind of played out, right? But even after we kind of started to break above the first, hump of the W, or the middle hump of the W, I kind of poo-pooed the move because, we were lacking volume. We're still lacking volume. There's no volume. There's resistances above us, one of which is this blue line that I've had on here for a couple weeks. Look at that. Touched the blue line perfectly, got rejected, kind of not moving up. Nobody's really excited about it. And there's even stronger and bigger resistances above that. So, it's kind of playing out as I expected. Not too much excitement about this W pattern. There's others talking about this W pattern, and we could still go up higher. We could still break that resistance. I don't think it's a very strong resistance, but in the end, I still think Bitcoin still has some more liquidation to do, more pain to come, and where that brings us, whether it just brings us back to the local bottom of 17.5 or whatever it was, or if we go lower to 15, 14, 13, it's possible. Especially with all the news stories coming out about liquidations and the greed that that the industry has displayed over the last year essentially, and so we'll see, right? There's not much to say other than that on Bitcoin, but let's talk about Cardano, because if you've been following my channel, you've known for 9 weeks, almost 10 weeks now I've been doing this channel, that Cardano is my number one pick, that Cardano will outperform Ethereum and Bitcoin by the end of the year, a year from now, and 5 years from now. And Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin by those same time frames. Well, we set out to prove it, right? We prove it every week by, for 9 weeks now, every week put $100 into these three cryptos, Bitcoin, ADA, and Ethereum. And look at that. ADA is already outperforming, already crushing Bitcoin and Ethereum. And today it's crushing up by 2.5%. So, I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Yeah, Bitcoin had its day the past couple days, but Cardano cannot be denied. Watch some of my past videos of why Cardano is about to rock. It's about to rock. And by the end of the year, it's going to crush Bitcoin and Ethereum, in my opinion. This is not financial advice, right? You got to make your own financial decision based on your own financial situation, but Cardano is going to rock. So, and let's talk about, some of the fundamentals of Cardano. Sentiment today in Twitter posted, as Cardano's price performance has stayed particularly underwhelming in 2022, which you can say that about every single crypto. You can say that about largely the whole entire stock market, right? Addresses holding 10K to 100K ADA are now accumulating. And, I put myself in that category. They've added 79.1 million ADA, that's not all me, sorry, to their collective bags in 30 days. Meanwhile, 100K to 10 million whales have ceased their dumping. Interesting. Okay, so, and then they posted this little chart with their tweet, but the chart's further explained in this little article. So, that's not the article I wanted to go in. This is the article right here. So fresh data from on-chain cryptocurrency analytics provider Sentiment shows that large Cardano investors, especially owners of addresses holding between 10,000 and 100,000 ADA, have recently grown their portfolios. Per Sentiment, addresses in this category added a massive 80 million ADA, worth around 37.84 million, to their respective portfolios in the last 30 days. As Cardano's price performance has stayed particularly underwhelming in 2022, again, it's just rereading the tweet, right? You could say that about everything. They've added 79 million ADA to their collective bags in 30 days, right? So the whales aren't selling. I guess minnows, I'll call myself a minnow. I don't have 100,000 ADA, but I have a lot of ADA. So we're all accumulating. So it's looking good, right? It's looking good. Excuse me. So time to get into ADA. ADA is gonna rock. And when Vassal launches in a few weeks here, ADA is gonna rock. So let's get into the ADA chart, because that is, first of all, let's talk about alt season, right? I think I'm the only one that's been talking about alt season. I have another chart to show you. We've been watching 4 charts, all bullish against Bitcoin. 4 alts, all bullish against Bitcoin. I got a 5th today, but they're all bullish. I mean, these charts are tumbling one after the other into bullish territory against Bitcoin. And so I got another one for you today. But some other influencers, right, are starting to recognize what we've been talking about on this channel for weeks. I mean, let's look at a couple of them, right? Carl, the moon, right, says most altcoins won't make it through the bear market. Probably true, right? Not every altcoin is bullish against Bitcoin, but he says the ones that do will explode once the bull run comes around. I agree. How about that Martini guy, TMG? I just found an altcoin, he says, that I'm going to buy $30,000 of this morning. And then he talks about why. But look at his bottom statement. The market is undervaluing altcoins. I agree. Man, these crypto influencers with a lot bigger following than me are starting to recognize what my little following has been, recognizing for weeks at this point. Weeks. We've been watching these charts. We've gotten in at the absolute bottom. These guys, if they're starting to get in now, they've already missed 10, 25, 10, 20, 25% gains against Bitcoin that we've gotten on this channel, because we've gotten in at the exact bottom. So let's look at one of them, right? ADA. And we've been talking about this for 9 weeks on this channel. I've been saying that ADA is going to outperform by the end of the year, but it wasn't until about 4 weeks ago, and I look at the weekly chart, so this is not a short-term trade. It wasn't until about 4 weeks ago that I said, now is the time to get into ADA. Now I'm taking a ton of my Bitcoin and moving it into ADA, right? And here we are. Look at that. I told you down here, when one ADA was worth 0.000019 Bitcoin, had a giant green candle, and then, we've given a little bit back, but we're still up. Now we're at 0.000022. So it's still like a 15, 18% gain versus Bitcoin. And again, if you've followed me on this channel, I'm waiting for it to get back up to the top of the descending wedge, way up here, 0.00006 Bitcoin. What would that give us? Turning 1 Bitcoin into 3 if you had followed me in. Turning 2 Bitcoin into 6, right? You can stack sats without trading on leverage. So we're 1 for 1 right there, 1 for 1. Let's look at another trade that we're positive on versus Bitcoin, and the chart is so bullish against Bitcoin. So look, it's ETH. ETH has been outperforming Bitcoin by a lot the last week, essentially. So, right? Or the last couple weeks. And again, I told you down here when 1 ETH was worth 0.052 Bitcoin. I told you right at the exact bottom, right when we hit this support line. I told you it's not going to break this support. It did break it. It wicked down, but right, it closed above it. So it's held and it's gone up ever since. And right now we're sitting at 0.056 Bitcoin. You know, almost 10% return. Again, stacking sats. Our trade is positive against Bitcoin. We're stacking sats without trading on leverage and without putting new money in. You can, it's possible, right? So again, 2 for 2. Another chart that's bullish, another alt that's bullish against Bitcoin. Okay, this next one, we're losing on our trade, but the chart I will not alter my thinking on it. The chart is still bullish against Bitcoin. That is Polkadot versus Bitcoin. And again, all of these, we're looking at the weekly chart. Look at another descending wedge that looks, almost a mirror image of that ADA chart. And I told you last week, right? It broke out a couple weeks ago. I told you last week, if we tested this downward sloping trend line, the resistance, former resistance, if we test it as support and it holds, I'm gonna move some into Polkadot, and we did it at 0.00035 Bitcoin. And yes, we're losing a little bit on the trade. It's only the trade is only 6 days old now, right? And look at this. I mean, we're testing it again this week. So this is really the losing week that we've had against Bitcoin. But look at the daily. I mean, the daily isn't looking too bad. So maybe it's starting to turn around. And I'm not going to give up on this. Maybe if we fall back into the middle of the chart, maybe I'll reanalyze what's going on, and I won't say it's bullish against Bitcoin anymore for sure. But as long as we're maintaining this former resistance as support, it's still a bullish chart versus Bitcoin. And the ultimate target would be up here, a 0.00082 Bitcoin. And what does that give us? Right, we more than double our Bitcoin just by moving out of Bitcoin into Polkadot. So that would be 3 for 3. We're losing that trade, so I'm going to say we're 2 for 3 on trades, but that's 3 for 3 charts that are bullish versus Bitcoin. Let's look at another one. I'm not invested in it, but it's bullish against Bitcoin, and we've talked about it on the channel before. I wish I would have chosen this one, right? We were talking about this one for a while now. I wish I would have chosen this one over Polkadot, but I had reasons not to. And look at this, a descending channel that broke out a couple weeks ago. And I told you last week, again, if this comes down and tests this upper resistance line, now turns support, is bullish. And it did. Look at last week. It tested it perfectly. It went down and wicked down to it perfectly, and now it's bullish. It's bullish against Bitcoin. 4 for 4 charts. Bullish against Bitcoin. Alt season's coming. Recognize it before anybody else does. Recognize it before anybody else does, because when they start getting in, when they start piling in to the alts, it'll be too late. They're going to miss half the returns you could get in alt season. So that's 4 for 4 charts against Bitcoin that are bullish. How about a fifth? Another one. I'm just bringing in the channel today because it's just breaking out today. Again, it's a weekly chart. So we need to wait till tomorrow to make sure it closes bullish, but it's Aave. Aave is a DeFi protocol, right? That allows you to deposit your crypto onto the platform and obtain yield by storing it on that platform and lending it out essentially to others. And with all the problems centered around that in the crypto industry, I'm not too comfortable about putting my money into Aave right now. Especially because I think we do have further downside to go in Bitcoin, just because of all the greed isn't flushed out enough yet, in my opinion. But Aave it's a bullish chart right now. It's breaking out right now. Look at this. It looks exactly like the ADA chart, right? This descending wedge. Look at all the times it wicked up to that resistance. Closed right on that resistance. Look at the times it closed on the on the support, and now we're breaking out of that resistance. So again, I would wait personally if you want to get into ADA, or I mean Aave, I would wait until next week. Make sure tomorrow we close above the resistance, and then see if we come back down next week, test it as support, and bounce off. Now that's what I would do if I was going to invest in Aave. And maybe I will. It depends on how it looks. But again, I'm probably not going to do Aave. But that's not the point. The point is that's 5 for 5 charts. Now there's other charts that I'm not bringing to the channel because they're not bullish versus Bitcoin, right? I'm not gonna talk about them on here if they're not bullish versus Bitcoin. But that's five alt charts that are bullish against Bitcoin. Alt season is coming. Alt season is coming, and that you can have alt season, right? Even if everything's going down against the US dollar. Bitcoin might crash harder than everything else. Alts kind of just, they've had their crash, right? They've crashed for 9-10 months versus Bitcoin. Their crash is done. It's time to pile in my opinion, not financial advice. Because when it does turn around, like Carl said, they are gonna moon. Carl the moon, right? They're gonna moon. I agree with Carl. Or I should say Carl agrees with me. He's getting on board. He's getting aboard the crypto liberal boat because we've been talking about it for weeks on this channel. Alt season is coming. And maybe it doesn't really take off next week, maybe not next month, but in the next several months, alt season will arrive. And if you're not taking your position now, carefully, piling into the right positions, you might miss out. And that's what I'm doing, right? I'm looking for opportunities. I'm bringing them to the channel. I'm telling you what I'm doing. So if you appreciate that, give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I'm making new videos. We'll talk about each of these as they move up or if they crash down, right? I'll admit I'm wrong. And in the end, I'm sticking to my core belief that ADA is that number one return out of all these that we've discussed for the next 6 months, next year, next 5 years. So if you appreciate that, give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit that bell notification, and let's get after it. I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope you're having some great time, some good times with your family and friends and not staring at the charts because nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen, until Monday at the earliest, I think. It's been boring. And it's going to continue to be boring. I think either I think because it's boring, we need a flush out again. One more flush out, I think, is what we need. And we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we continue to meander on up. I just don't see it. So we'll see. But I hope you're having a great weekend. That's all I have for today. My name is Mike. I am the Crypto Liberal. Have a good night. Talk more tomorrow. Good night.